Okay, this is an interview with Shawn Talbott, September 2nd, 1998. Okay, we'll just start out. Have you say your name and your PIN number.
My name is Shawn Talbott, and my PIN number is BetaSigma 823.
All right. Can you speak one more time?
Sure. My name is Shawn Talbott, and my PIN number is BetaSigma 823.
All right. Okay. Let's have you talk one more time.
BetaSigma 823.
Good. Okay. You pledged in what year?
I pledged fall of 1988.
Okay. And you pledged obviously your freshman year?
Yeah, I pledged my freshman year. Actually, as part of the Triangle Achievement program. So in spring of 1988, Dave Bolland had contacted me, and I ended up rushing over the summer and turned back my USC university housing and moved into TKE West as a pledge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my roommate was Ken Sweeney, and the two of us were both Triangle Achievement guys.
So was that one of the first years of the Triangle Achievement?
It was one of the earlier years.
Mm.
I think it might have been like the third year that they had started doing it, maybe the second year. I think it was definitely a coup to have two guys move in as true freshmen and to have two guys locked up so early. I know they had guys locked up earlier, guys recruited and in the house already, so to speak, in the pledge program. But for two freshmen to move in together, we both were roommates in TKE West.
And how big was your pledge class?
Our pledge class had 10 guys, and we ended up having 9 guys go through, I believe.
Of the 9 guys that went through, were you guys pretty close?
Some of us were very close, and some of us weren't as close as others. I think we started, that was the first fall where I think they were very happy with their pledge class, with the quality guys they have. Obviously, the numbers weren't as good as they should have been, but I think that was the genesis of where we really started improving with our rushes. We had Ken Sweeney, Tony Corallo, Mike Zuckerman, Matt Berger, Ken Mouche, and a lot of guys who ended up staying in the house, staying involved. Matt Duclef, JB Nast. Some of those guys didn't go through all 4 years or 4.5 like me, but other guys like Tony Corallo, JB Nast, Ken Mouche stayed very involved for a long time.
Speaking of numbers, was the house large when you joined compared to the other houses in the row?
No, our house was in the low 20s. We were a small fraternity then. We really were struggling, and I think that's why I say that our pledge class, having those 9 guys, that influx of people came in, really helped, and it started the upward spiral that we had, because the guys I said, like Ken Sweeney and JB Nast, myself, everyone stayed very involved, and we really started to focus on rush, and that was one of the things that I really enjoyed doing. I was rush chairman several times, and I really enjoyed rushing guys in the house.
How many times were you rush chairman?
I think I was rush chairman 3 or 4 semesters. I think it was 4 semesters and a couple of summers. So I did 2 or 3 falls and 1 spring, and then I had a couple summers as well. So I don't know. I count the summers kind of as half a rush, half of a rush. So I always say about 5 semesters worth.
What would you say? How important was rush to you in making the house grow? Because you said it was small when you got there.
Right. That was my focus really. After my freshman year, when I came in as a pledge and lived in the house, I did all the things that pledges do. And then my second semester in the house, I was involved as sergeant at arms. So I got involved, right away. Then I really started getting involved in the rush program. And Dave Bolland helped me out a lot, teaching me how to rush. But I really believed that we needed to get bigger. Excuse me. Let me try that again. I really believed that we needed to get bigger. And if we got bigger, we could then become more selective. And that's what we're seeing the house do today. There was another fraternity that we competed with on the row that we really didn't get along with that well, but I had a lot of respect for them as far as how they conducted their rush program. And their idea was to get real big and then become more selective. So needless to say, I fought a lot of battles with guys in the house about certain guys we should or should not let in, but fortunately we were able to grow from the low 20s that we had when I was there to now being a house over 100 members.
Would you say that being a small made you guys more of like a unit that worked towards a goal?
I don't really buy into that thing where they say, being smaller you have stronger brotherhood. I think that the brotherhood that the Beta Sigma chapter has now is incredible. You see that the games and all the events that they do, they have a lot more people. What it did was it made us work a lot harder because there was a lot fewer of us. So, from that end, we were real tight because we were working together so much. But I think the guys in the house now are all, pretty tight too. So it was just a matter of the workload was bigger. And I always tell the guys, when I go, because I'm a rush coach now and I travel around the West Coast and I talk to different chapters. I went back for training with Dave Bolland to Indianapolis. We went to university. And whenever I go to these other houses that were in the same position that we were in, they're smaller. They have 20 to 30 members. And, maybe at their university, the biggest house is only 60 or 70 members. I tell the guys, you got to look at it, the more guys that you have, the more you're going to be able to do. The more guys that you have, it becomes from just this little nucleus of tight guys, 20 or 30 guys, to being able to branch out. It's kind of like a window pane, where you punch the window pane and it creates some cracks. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to break through, get to that other side. Best houses on your campus are, they're at. And so it was just a lot of work having only 25 guys there.
As a rush chairman, do you think you completed your goals that you wanted to get done while you were in the house?
Definitely. I think as a rush chairman, I did the best job that I could every semester. I gave it my best effort, and I think we had a lot of success. From how I look at Beta Sigma, our goals were never complete, and our goals even now today for the house, I'm sure the guys sitting out there right now, they know that their goals aren't complete. It's never ending. All you do is you try to go to have higher and higher levels of success. So you want to get higher and higher levels of success with your undergraduate chapter. And what has happened, I think, is our goals have just become, that much loftier. We keep striving to become better and better in every area. Win an Ironman 4 years in a row. So now I guess I hear this year they had to make the teak rule. So they've changed the nature of Ironman because of the continual teak domination. So
now it's every semester.
That's right. I hear it's every semester. So I guess that just means we're going to have to win, both semesters. That way they won't be able to have their little games that way either.
Speaking of Ironman and athletics, you played football?
Yeah, I played football. I walked on as a freshman. I was the chief water boy for the team. But it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. I didn't get to play in any of the games. I didn't start or anything like that. I wasn't recruited out of high school because I didn't play football in high school. I actually just was working out with some friends during the summer, and I was long snapping the ball for the kicker, and they said that, that I was good at it. And so from there, I decided when I went to SC, I just decided I'd try and walk on the team. Kind of just winged it as I went. But I learned a lot about football. It was a great experience. I'm real excited because this past fall was our 10-year anniversary. So, I got to see a lot of guys today actually, because I guess when this is going to be broadcast, today is homecoming. So I know I'm going to get to see, I should say, a lot of guys on this day, which is nice. We have a big day, I guess. The 31st, we have our 50 years of TKE at Beta Sigma. We have our victory over Washington this afternoon, and we have
which you're projecting.
Which I'm projecting, of course, at this point, but it's going to be a victory. And we have homecoming festivities. So.
Yeah, it'll be a huge day. I can't
Great
wait
day.
for it.
I'm excited.
Athletics in the house. What was that like? The Ironman competition for us. I know we were a smaller house.
We were a smaller house, so when we first started, my freshman sophomore year, that was 88, 89, and then 89, 90. It was the same thing. You had a lot of guys playing a lot of different sports because You had guys, we just started recruiting guys that were athletes. And we had guys who participated in a lot of events. I think of Eric Brandon and Tony Corallo running track. I think of Ken Sweeney with the volleyball team. And then recruiting guys like Paul Warmay to play as well. Guys that played volleyball in high school. But a lot of times you had guys like Sweeney and Warmay and Matt Bashir later. And of course, a lot of the athletes that we had that came along later, a lot of those guys, Steve No, for example, that all these guys, I say their names and it's really funny because, I helped rush them into the house. And then to see how much they did with Teak and to see how they became leaders, not only in athletics, but in leaders in the house, leaders on the row, and eventually, finishing their time at SC. But all of these guys were just athletes. So they participated in things. They would do the Iron Man, like the Superstars competition. You had to kick a football. You had to run an obstacle course. We'd have guys out there swimming who never really swam that much in high school. Guys playing badminton. You'd have one or two guys here and there who played tennis. But as the house has grown, we've seen with success, rush solves everything. Numbers solve everything. And what we were able to do is recruit athletes who played every sport almost, with the exception of, I guess they got rid of things like foosball and badminton. Who knows? Who cares?
They stopped doing those. Huh? Bummer.
Exactly. We're not really worried about that, I guess. But we're now recruiting guys that played every sport about in high school. So, that's why I've been so successful. It's great to see.
Who, you talked about having a rival house? Who was that?
We had a couple rival houses. I'd say Lambda Chi and Sigma Phi Epsilon. Siget. So obviously if you look across the street, you can see what we did to Siget. So we finished them off because basically we reduced them to rubble. They have nothing left but a dirt lot with, I guess, seminars or other bills posted on what to do. But on Lambda Chi,
I think it's a parking lot now.
Yeah, it's a parking lot. There you go. It's a parking lot now. And so Lambda Chi was another big house that we had a big rivalry with. But I respected them a lot in the fact that they had a very concrete plan on how to become a much larger house. And the difference is, though, they became a very large house, but now we've done the same thing, but we've surpassed them in every area, whether it be athletics, leadership on campus, numbers. What happens a lot of times is these bigger houses start thinking they're the talk of the town and don't keep their focus. So it's important to have a strong chapter advisor, to have a lot of alumni come by, have a lot of BetaSigmas realize, hey, you're not just joining the house to go have a party, get drunk every night. We do that too. We have our fun, but it's not just one big party. If you want to go to that, go join Beta. Go join a house where, basically that's all they're going to do is party all the time. But we have a lot of different areas, whether it be scholarship, because we are here to get degrees, whether it be athletics, as we touched on, the social aspect, of course. But the biggest thing for me is the friendship. It sounds corny, but when you open up your Teak guide, the first thing it says is Teak is friendship. And that's very true. A lot of things that you get, nowadays, you have, I should say, a lot of people that are rushing the house nowadays are looking for a number of things. The demographics of people joining fraternities has changed a lot. But the biggest thing for me is, why do people join? They join because they meet someone and they have a great experience with that person, whether it be playing volleyball that day or doing a weekend SC at BetaSigma, or partying with them, or going to an exchange, or whatever, going to a football game, watching us win a football game, whatever the case may be. People join because of friendship. You join because, well, I met this guy and he was really cool and I had a great time, and now you have 100 other guys that are in the house like that. So although it sounds hokey, it sounds kind of corny, as I said, the biggest thing is Tika's friendship. I mean, I have some lifelong friends. My roommate, here in this house where I live, my roommate Tony Corallo and I are really tight. We're pledge brothers. But I have 70, 100 guys, probably 200 Teaks, Beta Sigmas that I've met now over the past 10 years now since I've been involved, and that I'm going to be friends with for the rest of my life.
Now, you stayed involved, and you mentioned alumni earlier, and now that you are one, What made you stick around and help out?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me was Teak was such a big part of my life that I wasn't ready to have to move on and not have any Teak in my life because of all the friendships that we talked about and all the exciting, experiences and people that I met. Dave Bolland, who's been chapter advisor at BetaSigma now for quite some time, did a great job replacing Rex Rolfe, and was a guy that a lot of younger people out there probably don't know. But Rex was there when I got there, when Dave was president, and Dave took over his job and did a great job. And I thought, well, where's an area where I could give back to my fraternity, And the first few years, 2 or 3 years, I came back and I'd help BetaSigma with Rush and talk to the guys, and we gave a few Rush seminars for our own fraternity in conjunction with Dave. But it got to the point where the house was so strong that we were past that. They know how to rush, and they have Dave there who's taught me, most of what I know about rush today. Mm-hmm. So they didn't need someone to help out. So I said, well, where's an area where I could help out? And the biggest thing that I see a lot of people complain about when it comes to national, besides hounding them for money or correspondence of some sort, is that we have a lot of chapters. At one point, my old Teak guide says we had like 285 chapters or something. I know that's come down because we've gotten rid of some chapters. But the biggest criticism is we had a lot of weaker Teak chapters out there nationally. And, you had your strong chapters and you had your size chapters just because that was what the demographics of their school was. But you had a lot of smaller chapters that were just struggling to stay alive. So now I got involved. George Woolery, I guess, suggested my name as a district vice president. But that wasn't really a big deal for me. The biggest deal for me is getting involved with this Rush program. Being a Rush coach, being able to go back to Purdue, meet a whole bunch of other Rush coaches and exchange ideas like I did this summer. We went up to Purdue University, it was nice to visit there right before we beat them this past weekend. So
by 10 points.
By 10 points, that's right. That second half was beautiful. So being involved as a Rush coach is something that I've really enjoyed because it's given me the opportunity to see a lot of different places, a lot of different chapters. Last year, some of the chapters that I went and visited were San Diego State. I visited Oregon State and Arizona State, which was nice. And 2 of those weekends, I got to go watch our team play football that weekend as well. So we kind of dovetailed it with that, which made it fun. But this year, I'm going to be visiting UNLV, Reno, UC San Diego. So it's exciting. In the past, I've gone up to San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and so it's exciting to help out chapters and go in there. Last year I also visited UC Davis, so I got to travel a lot, see a lot of different campuses. It's kind of interesting to see different colleges and see how they're set up and what they're like. But the biggest joy is seeing their Teak chapter, do well, going and visiting chapters and giving them all the nuts and bolts of Rush. Seeing them utilize it. And some of these chapters have done much better.
Okay, we'll get to like the media questions, I guess, the way I like to refer to them. If you could describe the chapter in 3 words when you were in it, what 3 words would you use and why?
3 words. Well, I'd have to say, that's a good question. 3 words. I'd have to say probably friendship, dedication, and fun. Because I think we had a good job at doing all 3 of those things. There's a lot of friendship there, as I mentioned earlier. We were all pretty tight because of that workload. We had a lot of work we had to do with a small number of guys. And that became easier and easier as we got bigger and bigger. So there's a lot of friendship there. There's a lot of dedication. And a lot of the guys who are joining today, hopefully, are realizing the same thing. This is the fraternity experience for the rest of your life. It's Teak for life. It's not just something you do for a year or 2 or quit. It's not something when your 4 years are up, forget about it. You're going to stay in contact. You're going to stay friends with all of these Teaks. You're going to interact with these people at alumni events. We have our alumni association that Eric Brandon's heading up that's doing great right now. We have road trips to football games. It's an event like this, having all of these people here. And in January, we're going to have our 100-year celebration because, as you know, TKE was founded in 1899. So we're going to have our 100-year centennial celebration, which is going to be great. And that's going to be hosted once again by BetaSigma because we are, the strongest chapter on the West Coast, which is great to see. So there's a lot of dedication. People realize, this is a fraternity experience that you're going to have to give your heart and your soul, and you're going to have to work hard to make it better. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves slipping. We don't want Beta Sigma to turn into another Sigma Chi or Delta or Fiji. I guess Fiji may even be back now, but these are all fraternities that over the past 8 or 10 years have been thrown off campus, and at one time were really strong. So we're always striving to be better and better. And the last thing was fun. We have a hell of a lot of good times together. Some of the road trips we went on, some of the parties that we did, and just some of the stories that I probably shouldn't repeat on this tape.
Yeah, probably not.
Were great. So I remember some costume parties. My roommate will tell you what he dressed up as, but I remember seeing day. But the biggest thing was at the end of the night. A lot of times we just go out and buy some 40s, drink some beers and sit around and talk about TKE and talk about the row and talk about SC and talk about a lot of other things too. Play cards, play hearts. I remember a lot of times being down in the library and having fires during the winter when it was colder, during December or January, playing hearts, playing cards together, and watching a little TV, watching football together, and just talking about things. But that's the greatest part of the collegiate experience, of the university experience, is you talk about politics, you talk about what's going on in the world, all the different current events, talk about women, talk about a lot of different things that we're out there searching to make better or to find in our lives. But everybody had a lot of fun together.
Okay, one last question, and then I'll let you say whatever you want, if you haven't said it already. If you could think of one thing, like one tangible thing that you took away from the fraternity, that you got from being in the fraternity that you cherish the most, what would that be?
The biggest reward for me personally from TKE, and selfishly, is being able to look at the house now and seeing how successful it was. Because when I joined the house, people were very upfront with me and said, Shawn, here's what our goal, here's our game plan, here's what we're striving towards. And over time, we started to realize, well, when I leave, we're not going to be there yet. When I leave, we're not going to have 100 members. We're going to have maybe 60, 65, which is great when we started only with 20 or 25. Mm-hmm. But our goal, all the goals that I had personally for TKE were not going to be accomplished. But I think what was really rewarding was looking back now, seeing the house, over 100 members, just the best house on 28th Street by far. The best house on the row, and seeing how successful it is. And a lot of times the younger guys don't realize this. There's that old alumni, or there's that crazy guy, or that obnoxious guy, which I very much can be at times. I'm sure the reputation precedes me. But they see that guy and they just say, oh, that's crazy Shawn, or that's party Shawn, or fun Shawn. They look at me, whatever it is, obnoxious Shawn, whatever it is. But they don't realize that when I was there for my time at SC, that me and a lot of other guys just really gave our heart and soul, and blood, sweat, and tears. Kind of redundant or trite, I should say, but it was true. We gave so much to that fraternity, and now to see it so successful, I know personally that I had a lot to do with that. Whether it be rush, whether it be cleaning up the house, or holding guys accountable to come to events, or seeing us get better and better exchanges, whatever it was. It's just, for me personally, it's been really exciting.
All right. Anything else you can think of that? Any war stories that might be appropriate in front of people's wives, or
any war stories that might be appropriate in front of people's wives? Not a lot. Not a lot that would be appropriate
That's
in front of
generally
everyone's
the case.
wives, probably. But I remember a lot of things. But probably my freshman year, I came down with my mom and dad, and they pulled over the car right in front of Del Taco, and my dad looked back and he kept saying, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yes, I want to do this. And we moved in, and my mom and dad were helping me carry some stuff up the stairs, and we opened the door, and I think it's like room 9 now in TKE West. It's kind of the bigger one with the big loft. And I guess they had some big dorky water polo player, if you're out there watching, who lived in there. Anyway, who lives there now, or used to. So we walked in there, we opened up the door, and the room was just yard sale. Just stuff everywhere. It was a wreck. And my mom and dad looked at each other, and then Sweeney ended up moving in that night or the next day, and we cleaned it up and got everything ready, and it looked fine when we were done. But I remember walking down the steps, and my parents were ahead of me, and I turned to Bolland, and I said, my mom and dad are petrified, dude, about how the house, how that room looks, and you have me moving in the house. It's not that clean. And Dave goes, not that clean. He goes, we're just coming off summer. He goes, that was the storage room. He goes, I spent 5 hours last night cleaning that house up, cleaning that room up for the house, cleaning that room up. I was like, I don't even want to know what it looked like beforehand. But that and football year, going 10-0 when I was on the team. We ran out of the tunnel and we were playing Notre Dame. And there's 100,000 people at the game. That was kind of my 15 seconds of rock star feeling. With that
adrenaline must have been nuts.
Yeah. But the biggest thing is I know we're going to have a good football season this year. I know we're going to have another great year of TKE, not only locally, but nationally, I guess internationally they like to say, with all the chapters we have. Because I have met some fraternity brothers from Canada when I was back in Purdue. So there are some very cool guys. So I should definitely always say internationally now, but because I don't want to offend our Canadians up north. But I tell you, it has been a great year for TKE. It's going to continue to be a great year. So I'm really just looking forward to football, all the TKE events that are going on, and our continued domination of the road of 28th Street.